أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولا تحسبن الذين قتلوا في سبيل الله أمواتا بل أحياء عند ربهم يرزقون فرحين بما آتاهم الله من فضله ويستبشرون بالذين لم يلحقوا بهم من خلفهم ألا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون يستبشرون بنعمة من الله وفضل وأن الله لا يضيع أجر المؤمنين الذين استجابوا لله والرسول من بعد ما أصابهم القرح للذين أحسنوا منهم واتقوا أجر عظيم الذين قال لهم الناس إن الناس قد جمعوا لكم فاخشوهم فزادهم إيمانا وقالوا حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل فانقلبوا بنعمة من الله وفضل لم يمسسهم سوء واتبعوا رضوان الله والله ذو فضل عظيم إنما ذلكم الشيطان يخوف أولياءه فلا تخافوهم وخافون إن كنتم مؤمنين ولا يحزنك الذين يسارعون في الكفر إنهم لن يضروا الله شيئا يريد الله أن لا يجعل لهم حظا في الآخرة ولهم عذاب عظيم إن الذين اشتروا الكفر بالإيمان لن يضروا الله شيئا ولهم عذاب أليم ولا يحسبن الذين كفروا أنما نملي لهم خير لأنفسهم إنما نملي لهم ليزدادوا إثما ولهم عذاب مهين صدق الله العلي العظيم. سورة المباركة الفاتحة.
وآل محمد. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. पत्थर हटा के लाश لاش سے زینب نے دی صدا کیا تم میرے حسین ہو پتھر ہٹا کے لاش سے زینب نے دی صدا کیا تم میرے حسین ہو ہائے ہائے میرے غریب کا کیا حال کر دیا غوروں سے لاش دشت میں پامال کر دیا پہچانو کس طرح سے بدل سے ہے سر جدا کیا تم میرے حسین ہو پتھر ہٹا کے لاش سے زینب نے دی صدا کیا تم میرے حسین ہو ہائے ہائے میرے غریب کا کیا حال کر دیا غوروں سے لاش دشت میں پامال کر دیا پہچانو کس طرح سے بدن سے ہے سر جدا کیا تم میرے حسین ہو پتھر ہٹا کے لاش سے زینب نے دی صدا کیا تم میرے حسین ہو پہچان لوں گی میں تمہیں آواز مجھ کو دو دم توڑتے جو دیکھا ہے کریل جوان کو آنکھوں میں اب بہن کی اجالا نہیں رہا کیا تم میرے حسین ہو پتھر ہٹا کے لاش سے زینب نے دی صدا کیا تم میرے حسین ہو پہچان تمہارے لیے بھی کٹھن ہوا دیکھا ہے پہلی بار جو زینب کو بیریدہ آتی ہے شرم جلد بتا دو مجھے ذرا کیا تم میرے حسین ہو پتھر ہٹا کے لاش سے زینب نے دی صدا کیا تم میرے حسین ہو کرتا رہا ہے ذبح کی کوشش کہاں کہاں خنجر کہتی ہوئی گردن پہ بھی نشان کاٹا ہے کس طرح سے ستمگار نے گلا کیا تم میرے حسین ہو پتھر ہٹا کے لاش سے زینب نے دی صدا کیا تم میرے حسین ہو پتھر ہٹا کے لاش سے زینب نے دی صدا کیا تم میرے حسین ہو پتھر ہٹا کے لاش سے زینب نے دی صدا کیا تم میرے حسین ہو ہائے ہائے میرے غریب کا کیا حال کر دیا غوروں سے لاش دشت میں پامال کر دیا پہچانو کس طرح سے بدن سے ہے سر جدا کیا تم میرے حسین ہو پتھر ہٹا کے لاش سے زینب نے دی صدا کیا تم میرے حسین ہو کرتا رہا ہے ذبح کی کوشش کہاں کہاں خنجر کہتی ہوئی گردن پہ بھی نشان کاٹا ہے کس طرح سے ستم گار نے گلا کیا تم میرے حسین ہو پتھر ہٹا کے لاش سے زینب نے دی صدا کیا تم میرے حسین ہو پتھر ہٹا کے لاش سے زینب نے دی صدا کیا تم میرے حسین ہو صلو علی محمد و آل محمد
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Please recite Surah Al-Fatiha for the names that will be displayed on the screen and all marhumin. Surah Al-Mubarakat Al-Fatiha. Dua Shafa is also requested for everyone who is in need tonight. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. أَمَّن يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ 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 اللهم صل على محمد وآل Muhammad. And finally, before I invite the Sheikh to deliver tonight's majlis, I'd like to take this opportunity on behalf of the Managing Committee to thank Sheikh for his spiritually uplifting and inspiring majalis over the last 3 days. And we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give him the tawfiq to carry on this path of service for many years. Please welcome Sheikh Nabil Awan to the minbar with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
ما شاء الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير. ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي جعل الحمد مفتاحا لذكره وسببا للمزيد من فضله ودليلا على آلائه وعظمته. ثم الصلاة والسلام وتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي سمي في السماوات بأحمد وفي الأرضين بأبي القاسم محمد. وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الهداة المهديين، سيما أولهم أمير المؤمنين وآخرهم بقية الله في الأراضين، روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء. ورحمة الله على محبيهم ومواليهم وشيعتهم أجمعين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقتلتهم وغاسب حقوقهم ومنكري فضائلهم ملعونين. أما بعد, for the happiness of Hazrat Zahra Marziyah, for the enlightenment of the graves of your marhumin, of the graves of the Shahadah, ulama and siddiqeen, for the safety of the followers of Ahlul Bayt around the world, and for the safety and the hastening of the reappearance of Hazrat Baqiyatullah al-A'zam Arwahun al-Fida, please recite your loudest salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the sake of Sayyidah Zainab that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives our sins. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive the sins of our parents. Oh Allah, those of our parents that are alive, give them long lives. Those of our parents that have left this world, give them a place next to Ali Muhammad in Jannah. Oh Allah, those who are ill, give the followers of Ahlul Bayt around the world. Oh Allah, give sanctuary and freedom to the people of Palestine. Ya Allah, destroy every oppressor wherever in the world they may be. Give victory to every oppressed wherever in the world they may be. Ya Allah, hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time and allow us to be amongst his true muntadhireen, his true waiters, for the acceptance of these du'as and any other du'as that you brothers and sisters have brought. Please recite another of your loudest salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. All praise due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who is Rahman and the one who is Rahim. We have reached our final lecture in this series of 3 days, and I just want to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for your hospitality. Those of you that have sent me messages on social media, various places, I'd like to thank you for those kind messages. Those of you that have hosted me post the lectures, really it's a humbling experience being subject to your hospitality. And if I have said anything in the past 2 nights that may have offended you or hurt you in any way, shape or form, through my words or my actions, then I truly ask for your forgiveness, and I hope that you will find it in your heart to forgive me for that. For your safety, for the continuation of this mission, of this center, please recite another salawat. We've gathered today to commemorate the istishhad, the wafat of Sayyidah Zainab salamullah alayha. And when it comes to her blessed life, it is unfortunate that not much is known about her. Much of her life is hidden. Outside of the period of Karbala, So that from the leaving of Medina, or even then arrival in Karbala to the night of Ashura, from that point until the day of Arba'in is where we get the most amount regarding Sayyidah Zainab. Outside of that, we don't know much about her life. The history is very quiet. Hatta even her birthplace is a place, her burial place is a place of contention. Some have argued, many of our classical scholars, Maraja like Ayatollah Mar'ashi Najafi, were of the opinion that she Salamullah alayha was buried in Egypt. Others have said Sham, and then others have also said it's possible that it's Medina, and they all give their reasons as to why it would be that place. And Ayatollah Mar'ashi says he doesn't believe it to be Sham because, say, the Zainab, it was such a traumatic place, why would she return back to that Sham? But other scholars said no, it's not Damascus as we know it today, but the Zainab area that was outside. Nonetheless, whether she's buried in Damascus or whether she's buried in Cairo, either one, both of them are the daughters of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Because some say that either Cairo is Zainab al-Kubra or Zainab al-Sughra, Kulthum, or that Damascus is Zainab al-Kubra or Zainab al-Sughra. It doesn't really matter where it is. But the point being that it's a lot about her life that we do not know. But what we do know of her, from those times, those few months in the saga of Karbala, is enough to stay with us for a whole lifetime. Because in those few months, what Zainab alayha salam achieved is something that no one else will be able to reach, that maqam that Zainab achieved in those few months. And why should it not be the case? I was thinking earlier that how is it that you introduce Zainab alayha salam? One of the ways that we often say is through her name, that she is Zainab, the zenat of her father. And what greater title is there than this? When her father is Zainus Samawati wal Ard, he is the beautification of the heavens and the earth, and she is Zainab, the beautification of her father. Generally, that's how we introduce her. But there's something else. There is a Syrian writer, Sunni, Khalil Ahmad Jum'ah. He has a book about Hazrat Zahra, and in there he has a line that he says that how is it that I can introduce who Fatima is? He says it is enough for me to tell you about Fatima that she's kanat mir'atan li abiha, that she salamullah alayha was the mirror of her father. And what better way to introduce who Zainab is, that she is kanat mir'atan li abiha, that Zainab is the mirror of Ali. That wherever you see that Zainab is standing, it is as if Ali himself is standing there. And so her greatness is there. It's apparent for us all. And we've heard it from when we were young of her greatness. But the point is to try and take lessons from her life, to try and analyze certain characteristics so that we can implement them within our lives and implement them on that journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And today I want to look or group together a bunch of characteristics that are spoken about multiple times throughout our hadith corpus. And they're constantly referred to as being some of the greatest traits an individual can have. It said that whoever has these three has the khair of the dunya and the akhirah. Or in another narration, he will never or she will never have any worries in this world if they possess these three characteristics. Or in one of the hadiths Qudsi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, anyone who possesses these three characteristics, I will count them from amongst the Siddiqeen. And who are the Siddiqeen? Maryam is referred to in the Quran as Siddiqa. Zahra alayha salam is known as Siddiqa, and Ali is known as Siddiq al-Akbar. Says whoever has these three characteristics will be placed amongst these individuals. And we'll look at these three characteristics and draw parallels to her blessed life. What are the three characteristics? The first, الرضا بقضاء الله, the one that is satisfied upon his lot from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with what Allah has ordained for him. The second, الصبر على بلاء الله, the one that is patient upon bala, upon difficulties that Allah places in his way. And the last, الشكر على نعماء الله, and the one that does shukr upon the ni'mah that Allah has bestowed upon him. These are just quite basic things. There is a level, the highest of this is that shukr, but then there's a level that is above this, which we won't get into in this lecture, and that is الشكر على بلاء الله. Is not just to do sabr in the face of bala, but it is to do shukr in the face of bala. And that's a high level, that's a very high spiritual maqam for an individual to reach, where they will begin to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the bala in their life. Truly, genuinely, from the bottom of their heart. Be satisfied, be patient, but also thankful for the trials in their life. And these are so important, these three that I mentioned, that in one of the hadith Qudsi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, مَنْ لَمْ يَرْضَى بِقَضَائِ, the individual that is not satisfied with what I have apportioned for him, وَلَمْ يَشْكُرْ لِنَعْمَائِ, and he's not thankful for what I have bestowed upon him, وَلَمْ يَصْبِرْ عَلَى بَلَائِ, and he's not patient upon the trials and difficulties that I have placed in his life, فَلْيَتَّخِذْ رَبًّا سِوَائِ, then tell him, go find another Lord. Tell him, go find himself another Lord. Because these things that Allah places, they're not to beat us down, but they are to refine our character, to uncover that hidden gem that is inside all of us, that light that shines, that divine light that was there, that point of nafakhtu fihi min ruhi, that I blew an aspect of my soul into him. But the only way to uncover that is through bala, through difficulties, through satisfaction, through shukr, in the face of all the things that we have in our lives. This dunya, it is made of ups and downs for this very reason. It's a training ground to beat you down, to train you, to put you through the crucible so that you refine yourself. To test whether or not in the face of ni'mah will you do kufranun na'am, or will you do shukr? Will you deny his blessings upon you and claim that they're all from your own hard work? Or will you turn around and say shukr to that Lord that is given? Will you realize, will you understand, will you comprehend the point that nothing you have is yours? Because you are mumkinul wujud. You are a contingent being, a contingent existence. Contingent upon what? The wajib al-wujud, the necessary existence. As long as the necessary existence exists, you exist. You draw from the necessary existence and you manifest the divine names in your actions. But in reality, you cannot manifest anything from yourself because we are mumkinul wujud. But in my arrogance, When I see something in my life that I have achieved, I will constantly say, I did this, I managed this, I built this business, I got this degree, I got this job, I did this, I raised these children, I was patient, See, the idol of the I is the most difficult one to break. That I believe, I think, in my opinion. When one is unable to even manifest from themselves. An example of being mumkin al-wujud is this. If I was the owner of everything that I say that I have, then the moment that I lose it, why not manifest it and bring it back? Those of my elders that are sitting on the chairs, will for your youth to return. Those that had wealth and have lost wealth, will for your wealth to return. Those that had health but have lost that health, will for your health to return. The fact that you cannot will it to return tells us that it was never yours in the first place. You are never the owner of that thing. And so then what arrogance can that human being show that has nothing of his own, has no right towards arrogance? There is only al-mutakabbir, that is Allah, who has the right to pride, because He is the origin and the manifester of all of these characteristics. For me, I simply draw from them. But the believers can be quantified in regards to their belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in three categories. The first are those who believe God is the creator. They accept Him as the creator, but they don't want Him to interfere in anything that they do. They believe that they know better. And the prime example of that is shaitan. خَلَقْتُهُ مِن نَارٍ خَلَقْتَنِي مِن نَارٍ وَخَلَقْتُهُ مِن تِينٍ. You have created me from fire, and you have created him from earth. He accepts that Allah is Khaliq. He's not denying Allah's Khaliqiyah. But what he is saying is, I know better. I disagree with this particular command. I think it should be this way. And the majority of people who believe in Allah, the majority of those that are on this path and say we believe in something, are in this group. Many of the disbelievers are in this group as well. That render unto Caesar what is Caesar's and render unto God what is God's. We know what we're doing with this world, He will deal with the hereafter. And the second group, and this is the vast majority where many of us fall into, is that believe that God is the creator, He is the sustainer, He constantly is sustaining, and He gives the good times and the bad times. He's merciful, He's loving, He's the controller of the world in every aspect. They accept this. But when they don't get what they want, then they begin to question. إِذَا مَسَّهُ شَرُّ جَزُوعًا. When they're tested, when they're greatly grieved, or when some sort of evil afflicts them, they turn against God. Say, but why? It doesn't make any sense to me. I know He's the creator. I know He has knowledge. I know He does that. But, this khums thing doesn't make sense to me. I know He is Qadir Mutlaq. I know He is Alim. He has all knowledge, everything beyond what I can understand. But this inheritance thing, why is it 2/3 for a man and 1/3 for a woman? They begin to question. All the while they're fine. Until their arrogance overcomes them. The third group is the group of total submission. They understand that they can do nothing They can act in no way. Nothing that they have is theirs. Every single atom in this world that moves is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted it to happen. They accept that He is total and utter authority upon this earth. And then that devolved authority comes to the hujjah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That devolved authority lies with the hujjah of Allah. And the hujjah derives his power from Allah, bi'idhnillah. Through the command, through the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what those companions who you hold dear, those companions that you revere of the A'imma alayhimus salam, those companions that reached those certain maqam, were because they realized that submission to Allah is submission to the hujjah of Allah. That's the silsila, that's the root. You submit to the hujjah of Allah in order to reach that submission towards Allah. Ibn Abi Ya'fur comes to the sixth Imam, Imam Sadiq salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi. And he says to the Imam, Imam, this pomegranate I have in my hand, if you by Allah were to tell me that half of it is halal and half of it is haram, I would never question you. I'd never question you. Because I know that you are the hujjah of Allah. Imagine if my Imam came to me and said, this pomegranate, half of it's halal, half it's haram, and I'll be like, makes no sense. The tree is the same. How is that? Half halal, half haram. I'll start to debate the Imam. Even though I don't know anything, but I'll still start to debate. We even do it at a really minor level, right? The Maraji have spent 30, 40, 50 years studying a certain thing. And then, I come along and I've got a degree in engineering or something. No offense to the engineers. Or psychology or whatever it is. But in my opinion, there are three things which is generally in the human race is fair game for everyone. Medicine, everyone's got an opinion on medicine. Yeah? You got some sort of injury, just stick some haldi on it, you'll be okay. Yeah? Everyone's got an opinion on medicine. Everyone's got an opinion on politics. Yeah? And the third thing is, everyone has an opinion on the religion. But yet, for anything else, no, you're not trained up in this, don't give an opinion. I can't give an opinion, I don't have the knowledge. When it comes to the religion, that's it. Even the village idiot gets a chance on his keyboard to give an opinion. Everybody has an opinion about the religion. The Imam was to come and tell me, God forbid, I'd be like, no, I saw a TikTok video that said this. The Imam. But the true companion of the Imam, the one that truly ascends, is the one that submits to the hujjah of Allah. There is no questioning. Once the hujjah of Allah has said something, I know that this is a command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And these trials, difficulties, these come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to refine us. Because those trials and difficulties is not just I lose a loved one or something bad happens. It can be sabr upon ita'at, upon obedience. Sabr in the face of sin. To turn away from sin requires patience. It requires rida. It requires satisfaction on what Allah has made halal and haram. Turn away from it. And if I do that, there's a beautiful hadith from the Holy Prophet, because I told you that these come in stages, where Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam says, إِذَا أَحَبَّ اللَّهُ عَبْدًا ابْتِلَاء. says when Allah loves His servant, He will place him in trials. He will put him in trials. فَإِن صَبَرَ اجْتَبَى. And if that person is patient, He will make him mujtaba. He will choose him. He will make him from amongst the chosen ones. But there's a level above it. One is sabr, but there's a level above. وَإِن رَضِيَ. But if he is satisfied and happy with what Allah has ordained for him, istifah. He will make him Mustafa. He will give him a higher station than ijtiba. It is the station of being preferred in the face of trials. It's difficult. But yet if you want the best example of it, then that is Zainab al-Kubra. You see her total submission. It's not to her brother. In the same way that Zahra's going behind the door was not for Ali. It was for the Hujjah of Allah. In the same way, the 40 days of Zahra walking through the streets and knocking on the doors of the Muhajirin and the Ansar, saying, "Why have you left Ali?" was not for the sake of her husband. It was for the sake of the Hujjah of Allah. Zainab did not do what she did in Karbala for her brother. No, she did it for her Imam. You look at her life. Look at those days. From leaving Medina until the day of Ashura. Shab-e Ashur, when Imam Hussein alayhi salam begins to recite poetry to Zainab to tell her that tomorrow I will be killed, she begins to shake and cry. Imam alayhi salam looks at her and says, "My sister, isbiri, be patient." She says, "Surely, Hussein, you will find me amongst the patient ones." And what was the patience of Zainab? That on the day of Ashura, you look at the maqatil, everywhere is Zainab, Zainab, Zainab. There was Kulthum there, but there's no mention of Kulthum. Later on in Medina, or maybe one khutbah is attributed to her in Kufa. Or then when she reaches Medina, Ya Medina tu jaddina la taqbalina, that famous poem that she recites. But before that, it's Zainab. Rabab was there as well. But yet, Rabab is not seen in the maqatil. Maybe one time, at one point where Rabab can't bear it in the court of Yazid, when she sees the head of Abi Abdullah being disrespected, they say Rabab ran forward at that time and grabbed hold of the head of Abu Abdullah. But all the way it was Zainab alayha salam. Wherever you look, Zainab, her patience was such. Comes to the day of Ashura when Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam is coming to his is going out into the battlefield. One of the most difficult deaths for Abi Abdullah was the one of Ali Akbar. This is the only time where on the day of Ashura, Imam Hussein alayhi salam fainted at the body of any of the Shahadah. When he came to the body of his Ali Akbar and saw the state of the body of Ali Akbar, فَقَطَّعُوهُ بِسُيُوفِهِمْ إِرْبًا إِرْبًا. They mutilated the body of Ali Akbar with their swords. He fainted on the body. It was Zainab that ran out from the tent to go and help Abu Abdullah at that point. When he hears the cry of Abbas from the banks of Al-Qama, at that point he calls out, "Zainab, they've killed my brother." And when he returns, having gone to the body of Abbas, it is Zainab that meets him as he returns. When it is coming to the time of Asr Ashur, when he has to go out, he's calling Zainab, "Ya ukhta, oh sister, bring for me that old shirt of mine that my mother had sewn for me." Or when it comes to bidding farewell to Ali Asad, Asghar. He says, Ya ukhta nawilini walidi as-saghir. Oh sister, bring for me my youngest son. And he holds on to Ali Asghar. And when he comes back from the battlefield and he goes to bury the body of Ali Asghar, it is Zainab that comes running out to help her brother. When it comes to Wida, it is Zainab again that runs after him. Mahlan, mahla, yabna Zahra. Slowly, slowly, oh the son of Zahra. Not just was Zainab patient herself, but she enjoined that patience on others. When on the 11th of Muharram, Sayyid Sajjad, his soul was leaving his body when he saw his father's body lie upon the ground of Karbala. Only the Hujjah of Allah knows what it means for the body of the Hujjah of Allah to lay trampled on the earth. Only the Hujjah of Allah knows what it means for the head of the Hujjah to be severed and raised upon a spear. Because the Hujjah understands the maqam of the Hujjah. And where Zainab sees him at that point, she turns to him, says, Sajjad, don't worry. Let me reveal to you, let me retell you the hadith that Ayman told me, that there will come a time where they will build a place of ziyarah here. And people will come and they will visit your father's grave. The bodies will be buried. All of this will be over, Sajjad. She enforces that sabr on Imam al-Sajjad. Zainab alayha salam, at every point, you see how she holds on to that message of Abi Abdullah. In the face of oppression, in the face of Yazid, Zainab has come into the court of Yazid. 20 days it took from Kufa to Damascus. 20 days that the daughters of Ali and Batul were taken. I often say, there are two masa'ib, two such masa'ib that are for the people of ghairah, the people that have ghairat. One is the masa'ib of Zahra alayha salam, and the other is the masa'ib of Zainab and the daughters of Ali. Only a person with the ghayrat, with that chivalry, would understand what it means. Zainab comes, and the first thing she says to Yazid, as he sits there with the head of Abi Abdullah in front of him, delegations, the Jews and the Christians and the various delegations, he's invited, come see, we have brought the daughters of Rasulullah as prisoner. She stands there, Amin al-Adl yabnat tulaqa. Is this justice, O son of our freed prisoner, that your women stand behind hijab and the daughters of Rasulullah are made to stand without? When she's in Ibn Ziyad's court in Kufa and she enters that court. Now once Mirza Shirazi was sitting in the gathering of one of the maddah who were reciting, and he recited this line, that Zainab entered into the court of Ibn Ziyad in the state that her clothes were torn and forlorn from that journey. Mirza Shirazi says, stop. Let us think about this one point. This is enough for us to cry over. That Zainab bint Ali was brought into the court in this state. Is the masa'ib of the one with ghairah. That's what will bring tears in the musibah of Zainab to any heart. Mirza Shirazi says, wait. He says, wait, this is enough. He says, do you know what this line means? He says, this is that Zainab that in Medina, when she wanted to go to the grave of her grandfather, there would be 7 of her mahram that would surround her. and they would take her from the house to the grave of the Prophet and extinguish all of the lamps in the masjid so that no one would see this Zainab. This is the same Zainab that when Abu Abdullah brought her to the plains of Karbala and he wanted for her to descend from the camel, Abbas called out to all of Bani Hashim, come, make a line, block Zainab from the sight of anyone. They say that Abbas looked at one of the companions of Abi Abdullah and he understood from the look of Abbas what Abbas was trying to say. He calls out to the soldiers, Ya Ahl al-Kiram, khuddu absarakum. O people of great magnanimity, lower your eyes, for this is the daughter of Ali that is descending. And all the companions lowered their eyes and Zainab entered into her tent. This is that Zainab that for 20 years a man says, I was the neighbor of Ali. And never once did I even hear the voice of Zainab. Now this Zainab is being brought in front of Ibn Ziyad. But how is it that she addresses him? She looks at him, Yabna Marjana. Reminds him of who he is. Because Zainab is drowned in the love of Allah. She addresses him in that way. And then when he says to her, that how is it that you perceive what Allah did to your brother? What Allah did to you? And those famous lines from her, Ma ra'aytu illa jamila. Zainab saw nothing but beauty or nothing but Allah everywhere. Where was the beauty that Zainab saw in Karbala? The beauty that Zainab saw in Karbala was someone like Muslim ibn Awsaja when he falls from his horse to the ground, and Habib and Imam al-Hussein go to Muslim as he lies there breathing his last few breaths. Habib says to him, Muslim, is there anything that I can do for you? He says to him, yes, one thing. He says, what is it, Muslim? Tell me. He says, Habib, alayka hadha al-rajul. He says, oh Habib, the only thing I want from you is this: never leave the side of Abi Abdullah as long as you are alive. Defend Abi Abdullah. The beauty that Zainab saw in Karbala is someone like Sa'id ibn Abdullah that stands in front of his Imam while his Imam prays behind him, running from left to right, catching arrows in his neck and in his chest. He runs from left to right. When the Imam finishes Salah, Sa'id falls to the ground. Imam takes his head in his lap, says, Sa'id, is there anything Hussein can do for you? He says, yes, Yabna Rasulillah, just answer one question for me. Says, what is it, Sa'id? He says, Yabna Rasulillah, awafaytu Yabna Rasulillah, have I been loyal to you, O son of Rasulullah? The beauty that Zainab sees in Karbala is a 13-year-old boy riding out. He's just lost his father. His mother is there in Karbala. This boy rides out, comes to Imam al-Hussein and says, Imam, give me permission to go out. Imam says, your father has already gone out to fight. He's already given his way. Your mother is here. You are young. Remain with your mother. He says, Ya Aba Abdullah, it is my mother herself that has sent me to you. He rides out. The Maqatil don't even give his name, but they say one thing, that this 13-year-old boy recited a rajaz as he was leaving. And what was his rajaz? Every other person introduced themselves. Every other person introduced their tribe. But this young boy goes out, Amiri Husaynun wa ni'mal amir, sururu fuad al-bashir al-nadhir, aliyun وفاطمة والدا وهل تعلمون له بالنذير. He says, if you want to know who I am, then it is enough for you to know this much: Amiri Hussein wa ni'mal amir, that my master is Hussein, and what a great master he is. When the boy is killed, they sever his head from his body. and they throw it back towards his mother. She picks up the head, she kisses the head of the boy, and she throws it back. What we have given in the way of the Hujjah of Allah, we do not take back. The beauty that Zainab saw on the plains of Karbala was the 13-year-old Qasim coming to his uncle on the day of Ashura. Lam yazal yuqabbil rijlayhi wa yaday, constantly kissing the hands and the feet of his uncle. Oh uncle, give me permission to go out and fight. The beauty that Zainab sees on the day of Ashura in Karbala is Hussein holding the lifeless body of his 6-month-old child in his hands, saying, my Lord, this is easy for Hussein to bear, knowing that you are watching. The beauty that Zainab sees in Karbala is the Imam asking his sister, oh Zainab, when you stand for your Salatul Layl, do not forget me. The beauty that Zainab sees on the plains of Karbala is Hussein having given everything in the way of Allah, with no one left, with wounds on his body, face covered in the blood of his Ali, his arms covered in the blood of his Abbas, his chest covered in the blood of his Qasim. Now he stands on his horse one last time. Ilahi taraktul khalqa turran fi hawaka wa aitamtul ayala likay araka wa in qatta'tani bil hubbi iraban iraba limal al fuadu ila siwaka. My Lord, I've left the whole of creation for your sake. I've orphaned my children so that I may see you. And even if the swords were to come and cut me to pieces, my heart would turn to none but you. The beauty Zainab sees in Karbala is Hussein riding out onto the plains of Karbala. The beloved calls, Ya ayyatuha an-nafsul mutma'inna irji'i ila rabbika radiyatan maradiyah. He falls from the horse to the ground. Ilahi ridan biradak wa tasliman li amrih la ma'bud as-siwak ya ghiyath al-mustaghithin. My Lord, I am happy. I have submitted to what your command is. I am satisfied within which there is your happiness. My Lord, oh, the one that hears the cries of the one that cries out. The beauty that Zainab sees in Karbala is that total submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Zainab was Ummul Masa'ib, but she was Radhiya as well. Zainab was Ummul Masa'ib, but she was Shakira as well. Zainab was Ummul Masa'ib, but she was still drowned in the love of Allah. The Masa'ib of Zainab begins from where? From the moment that the Muslims came and began to set fire to the door of her mother. The Masa'ib of Zainab is there as she sees Zahra crushed between the burning door and the wall. The Masa'ib of Zainab as at that moment where she hears of her father Ali falling unconscious upon the hearing of the death of Zahra. The Masa'ib of Zainab is when she sees that wound upon the head of her father Ali. The Masa'ib of Zainab is there when Hassan is vomiting blood as the poison courses through his body, and Zainab is there with a tray. The Masa'ib of Zainab is on the day of Ashura, as she watches her beloved brother go out, and she stands until the Zainabiyya, and she watches what unfolds upon her brother. Zainab watched that moment. The trampling of the body, the severing of the head. Abi Abdullah's body was in such a state that his body was trampled twice. Not just once. Once was after his death. Once was while he was still alive. Your Imam says in Ziyaratna here, Hawaita ila al-ardi jarihan tata'uka al-khuyul bihawafirha. Hussein, when you fell to the earth injured and the horses trampled your body, Abi Abdullah lie there. Zainab's masa'ib was there. But the single most difficult time for Zainab was on the 11th of Muharram. They say that when they were all chained and all the women were made to go and sit on the camels, the enemies came forward, hoping possibly that they would be the ones to put the daughters of Ali and Zahra on the camels. Zainab steps forward. She says, we are the daughters of Ali and Rasulullah. Move away. I will help each of these ladies upon their camels. Zainab helps each and every one of them one by one onto the camels. And now Zainab stands on the plains of Karbala. Nazarat shimalan wa yamina. Zainab looks to her left and she looks to her right. فقالت وعباسا. She calls out, Abbas, where are you? Ali Akbar, where are you? Zainab mounts upon the camel and they take the camels through the bodies of the Shahadah. One by one the women begin to throw themselves from the camels upon the bodies of their Shahadah. They say that in the distance Zainab saw a body that was covered in arrows and spears and stones. Zainab threw herself from the camel to the earth of Karbala. Zainab threw herself from the camel to the earth of Karbala. This statement is easy to say, but once one understands this statement, every heart shall break. You see, Zainab's hands were tied around her neck. When Ali Akbar fell from the horse, yes, Ali fell, but he was a man that fell from the height of a horse. Qasim fell from his horse, but he was a young man that fell from the height of a horse. Abbas fell from his horse. Yes, Abbas's arms were severed. Yes, there was an arrow in his eye. But Abbas was a man that fell from the height of a horse. Hussein alayhi salam fell from the running horse to the earth of Karbala. But Hussein again was a man that fell from the height of a running horse. On the 11th of Muharram, when Zainab falls from that camel, Zainab is a woman. Her hands are tied around her neck. When Zainab fell, she fell upon her face on the earth. Zainab stood. She ran towards that pile of stones and arrows. They say she ran and then she would sit. And then she would run again and sit. Again Zainab would stand and sit. They say, why is it Zainab would run and sit? Said one reason could be that Zainab was tired from Sham Ghariban. Zainab had spent the whole night awake as Abbas would. And so Zainab couldn't sustain the running. And another reason, and they say the most probable reason, is this: that when Abi Abdullah's body was trampled under the hooves of the horses, the limbs of his body became separated from his body. Now as Zainab runs towards her brother, she comes towards him in such a way that she comes across a limb of her brother. She sits down, she kisses it, then she runs again, and then she finds a limb of her until she reaches her brother. When Amr ibn Abdul was killed in Khandak, Safiya, the sister of Amr, came to the lifeless body of Amr, and she looked at his body and she said to Amr, I will never cry over you, for the one that killed you was Kareem. Was Kareem. Why? Because there was a tradition amongst the Arabs that they would mutilate the body of the one that they had killed after, removing their nose or their ears, such they would desecrate the bodies after their death. Safiya came and she said, the one that killed you was Kareem, Amr. I will never mourn over you. That Kareem was Ali. But Ya Ali, you were Kareem to those who you were victorious over. Ya Ali, you were Kareem that you didn't desecrate the bodies. But Ya Ali, come on the 11th of Muharram, when your daughter Zainab comes to her brother Hussein, the state of her brother is in such a way that the limbs are separated from his body. His head is severed from his body. The first thing that Zainab says when she comes to her brother's body is, Ha anta akhi, are you my brother Hussein? ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. ماتم حسين.
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے. بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے. بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے. بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے. بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے. اور ہر ہاتھ میں پتھر ہے خدا خیر کرے. بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے. بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے. بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے. حر کے بیٹے پہ ہی شبیر بہت روئے تھے. حر کے بیٹے پہ ہی شبیر بہت روئے تھے. اب تو لاش علی اکبر ہے خدا خیر کرے. بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے. بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے. بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے. مارتے ہیں وہاں نیزوں کو زمیں پر ظالم. مارتے ہیں وہاں نیزوں کو زمیں پر ظالم، دفن جس جالی اصغر ہے خدا خیر کرے، بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے، بنت زہرا کچھ قدم دور کھڑی دیکھ رہی ہے زینب، کچھ قدم دور کھڑی دیکھ رہی ہے زینب، شمر کے ہاتھ میں خنجر ہے خدا خیر کرے، بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے، پیچھے دیوار ہے اور جلتا ہوا در آگے، پیچھے دیوار ہے اور جلتا ہوا در آگے، بیچ میں بنت پیمبر ہے خدا خیر کرے، بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے، بنت زہرا بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے، حر کے بیٹے پہ ہی شبیر بہت روئے تھے، حر کے بیٹے پہ ہی شبیر بہت روئے تھے، اب تو لاش علی اکبر ہے خدا خیر کرے، بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے، بنت زہرا بنت پیچھے دیوار ہے اور جلتا ہوا در آگے، پیچھے دیوار ہے اور جلتا ہوا در آگے، بیچ میں بنت پیمبر ہے خدا خیر کرے، بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے، بنت زہرا بنت زہرا بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے، بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے، اور ہر ہاتھ میں پتھر ہے خدا خیر کرے، بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے، بنت زہرا کا کھلا سر ہے خدا خیر کرے،
یا حسین 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 یا حسین، بازار ہے پتر ہے زینب کا کھلا سر ہے، بازار ہے پتھر ہے زینب کا کھلا سر ہے،
بازار ہے پتھر ہے زینب کا کھلا سر ہے. سب مل کے بازار ہے پتھر زینب کا کھلا سر ہے. بازار ہے پتھر ہے زینب کا کھلا سر ہے. بازار ہے پتھر بازار ہے پتھر ہے زینب کا کھلا سر ہے. ہر زخم پہ شکرانہ زینب کے لبوں پر ہے. بازار ہے پتھر ہے زینب کا کھلا سر ہے. بازار زینب کا کھلا سر ہے. بازار ہے پتھر ہے. ایک گریہ خونی کی جاتی ہی نہیں لالی. سجاد کی آنکھوں کو دیکھا ہی نہیں خالی. یا خون ہے آنکھوں میں یا خون ہے آنکھوں میں یا شام کا منظر ہے. بازار ہے پتھر ہے کا کھلا سر ہے. بازار کھلا سر ہے. بازار پتھر ہے زینب کا کھلا سر ہے. بازار ہے پتھر لٹکا در کوفہ پر دیکھا ہے کوئی لاشا. کیوں چوب سے محمل کی زینب نے ہے سر مارا. اے وقت لہو سے کیوں اے وقت لہو سے کیوں زینب کی جبیں تر ہے. بازار ہے پتھر ہے زینب سر ہے. بازار ہے پتھر ہے زینب کا کھلا سر ہے. بازار زینب کا کھلا سر ہے. بازار یہ شور بکا کیا ہے ماتم کی صدا کیا ہے. توحید بچائے جو وہ کرب و بلا کیا ہے. یا ہے سر سرور یا ہے سر سرور یا زینب تیری چادر ہے. بازار ہے پتھر ہے کھلا سر ہے. بازار کا کھلا سر ہے. بازار ہے پتھر ہے زینب سر ہے. یہ شور بکا کیا ہے ماتم کی صدا کیا ہے. توحید بچائے جو وہ کرب و بلا کیا ہے. یا ہے سر سرور یا ہے سر سرور یا زینب تیری چادر ہے. بازار ہے پتھر ہے زینب کا کھلا سر ہے. بازار ہے پتھر ہے کھلا سر ہے. بازار ہے پتھر ہے لے شام غریبہ سے پرہول بیاباں تک. بازار سے کوفہ تک دربار سے زندہ تک. بہ رہے میں تماچے ہیں بہ رہے میں تماچے ہے اور شاہ کی دختر ہے بازار ہے پتر ہے زینب کھلا سر ہے بازار ہے پتر ہے زینب کھلا سر ہے بازار ہے پتر ہے زینب کا کھلا سر ہے بازار ہے پتر ہے زینب کا کھلا سر ہے بازار اے بی بی بانیے عزا پیغام کربلا تیرا جس نے سنا یہی کہا کہ یا زینب کبریٰ 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 نب کبریٰ تیغ خطبوں کی برسر دربار جیسے چلتی ہو حیدری تلوار کھٹ کے گرتے تھے ظالموں کے جگر جنگ خیبر تھی یا تیری للکار یا زینب کبریٰ یا زینب کبریٰ یا زینب کبریٰ یا زینب کبریٰ یاد آتا ہے شام کا منظر بی بی سر پہ تیرے نہ تھی چادر ہر طرف پتھروں کی بارش تھی تیری پوشاک تھی لہو میں تر یا زینب کبریٰ یا زینب کبریٰ یا زینب کبریٰ زینب کبریٰ یا زینب کبریٰ یا زینب واسطہ اس اسیر بچی کا رسیوں میں بندھا تھا جس کا گلا وہ جو پیاسی تھی مر گئی پیاسی کوئی بچہ نہ اب رہے پیاسا یا زینب کبریٰ یا زینب کبریٰ یا زینب کبریٰ یا زینب کبریٰ یا زینب یا زینب کبریٰ تیرے در پر یہ استغاثہ ہے جو بھی فرش عزا پہ روتا ہے اس پہ سایہ کرے تیرا غازی وہ جو مشکل کشا کا بیٹا ہے یا زینب کبریٰ 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 پر محمد و آل محمد صلوات
افلح من صلوا على محمد وآل محمد صلوا على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله السلام عليك يا بنت نبي الله السلام عليك يا بنت محمد المصطفى السلام عليك يا بنت ولي الله، السلام عليك يا بنت علي المرتضى سيد الأوصياء والصديقين. السلام عليك يا بنت فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا أخت الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة أجمعين. السلام عليك أيتها السيدة الزكية، السلام عليك أيتها الداعية الخفية، السلام عليك أيتها التقية النقية، السلام عليك أيتها الراضية المرضية. السلام عليك أيتها العالمة الغير المعلمة، السلام عليك أيتها الفهيمة الغير المفهمة، السلام عليك أيتها المظلومة، السلام عليك أيتها مهمومة، السلام عليك أيتها المغمومة، السلام عليك أيتها الصديقة، السلام عليك أيتها المكروبة، السلام عليك أيتها الماسورة، السلام عليك أيتها الصاحبة المصيبة العظمى، السلام عليك يا زينب الكبرى ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا نبي الله يا حبيب الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين وسيد الوصيين إمام المتقين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى 9 المأسومين من ذرية الحسين، علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا صاحب العصر والزمان سيدي الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن يا كعبة الإيمان يا إمامنا وإمام الإنس والجان، عجل الله تعالى فرجه وسهل الله تعالى مخرجه وظهوره. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله اللهم كن لوليك هال الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك وقائدها وناصرا ودليلا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. إلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات، رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة تسبقها الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.